Hello, welcome to Cynic's Sanctuary of Sleepless Nights. I'm your host, Cynic, and I'll be guiding you through the darkest corners of the internet. If you're a fan of Reddit's or /nosleep, you're in the right place. Every week, I'll be bringing you chilling tales of horror, the paranormal, and the unexplained, all inspired by the best of our /nosleep. From creepypastas to terrifying personal experiences, I'll be diving into the world of sleepless nights and emerging with stories that will haunt your dreams. So, if you're ready to confront the darkness, subscribe to Cynic's Sanctuary of Sleepless Nights, hit that notification bell, and join me on this journey into the heart of horror. Join this Redditor as he tells us his story. I drove through the Appalachian Trail, and I am pretty sure I didn't escape.
I drove through the Appalachian Trail, and I am pretty sure I didn't escape. I was born and raised in a house that stood near a forest for almost my whole life. You can imagine I've heard stories that have kept me up multiple nights at a time. My father was brought up in the Algonquian lands in Michigan. The amount of stories he used to tell me are far more than I can count. My mother always scolded him for scaring me. "For Christ's sake, Gerald. You'll scare the poor boy out of his wits." Clearly he never took anything my mother told him seriously. In a way, I had always felt a connection to the forests. I always wondered as a kid what stories those trees might have seen, how many moons, suns and sunsets have they witnessed. I would sneak out at night to sit in the tree house that I'd built without the knowledge of my father because I know he would not allow for it to stand. One day when I overslept in that same tree house, my father found it while searching for me. To say that he was livid would be an understatement. I asked him why he hated the woods so much. "When you've seen what I've seen, you'll understand soon enough." I never understood the meaning behind those words. But now, as I drive my car through the Appalachian Trail, 7 years after my father had died, a part of my heart felt as if I understood the quote my father always said. I had deeply underestimated how tangibly creepy the forest was at night. The clock on my dashboard blinked 12:54 a.m. The faint blue glow was the only comfort for me other than the headlights of my car. It was pitch black outside. Not even the moonlight seemed kind enough to offer the so little a light it can offer. Trees pressed in on both sides with their skeletal limbs reaching for the road like claws. My headlights cut through the gloom, illuminating patches of cracked pavement and an occasional road sign coated in grime. The silence was the first thing that unnerved me. Not the peaceful kind of quiet you'd expect in the wilderness, punctuated by crickets and rustling leaves. This silence was dense, oppressive, like a blanket smothering the world. My ears strained for any sound, but the only noise was the low hum of the engine and the occasional crack of a branch under my tires. I adjusted the rearview mirror, glancing behind me out of habit. Nothing but darkness stared back. I swore under my breath for quite some time. I wished my sister had not visited me this afternoon. She had forgotten her breast pump at my place, and given how remote the land her house is situated in, she only had one way. And that was to call me and tell me to come to her home. I had never taken this trail before. My father had spoken greatly of his heritage, but I had never paid any attention to it all the same. He had also spoken greatly of his experiences in the woods. "Don't think about that," I told myself. "Think about something else." I adjusted my hands to the radio. Nothing. Pure static. I turned the channels, turning the knob aggressively for some form of comfort. Nothing. Static again. A flash of movement on the road ahead. My heart leapt as I slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a halt with a screech. I swore under my breath again. What the actual dash? There, standing in the center of the road, was a deer. At least, I thought it was a deer. It was a buck tall and gaunt, with antlers that jutted out like twisted branches. Its ribs pressed against its fur, and its legs seemed too long, spindly and fragile like they might snap under its weight. The headlights cast eerie shadows across its body, and for a moment, I thought it was just sick, maybe starving. But then it looked at me. Its stare pierced through my body, as if an actual human was staring at me. I gulped. The thousands of legends my father had told me came like a whirlpool into my mind, and sweat started forming in the creases and the back of my neck. The forest stayed silent still. Not a movement of a cricket nor a rustling of a leaf. Not a single breakage of a twig or stick. Its eyes didn't reflect the light like a normal animal's. They absorbed it. They were a black tunnel, I felt, pushing me deeper and deeper into it. I sat frozen, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I was now growing more and more scared. The air conditioner within the car was not enough to mask the sweat and unbounded fear forming within my body. The deer or creature tilted its head slowly, unnaturally, as if trying to understand me. My knuckles were now turning paler than ever. I took one hand of the steering wheel and covered my mouth with it. It did not break eye contact. It just kept staring into my soul. And then it moved. Its legs jerked forward in a halting, puppet-like motion, the joints bending in ways they shouldn't. My eyes widened. You don't have to be a natural expert to know deers don't stand up like that. The creature opened its mouth, and a low, guttural clicking sound filled the air. It wasn't a sound any deer should make. Panic, fear, and outright rage surged through me, and I hit the horn. I hit it again and again. The blare echoed through the silence, but the creature didn't flinch. It tilted its head again, almost as if it was toying with me. Its spindly mouth turned into, as I watched in horror, a smile. It took another step forward. Nope. Nope, 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 I muttered, slamming the gear into reverse. But the car wouldn't start. Fuck. Fuck. I yelled and plunged my legs again into the accelerator. The headlights flickered once, twice, and then the road plunged into darkness. When the lights came back on, the road was empty. The deer had vanished. My heart was pounding, a drumbeat in my chest as I pressed the accelerator and sped forward. Just a weird deer, I whispered to myself, though my mind did not agree with me at all. I shoved those thoughts deeper back in my mind. That's all it was. Just a sick deer. But the knot in my stomach didn't loosen. The road stretched on, darker and narrower, the trees closing in like a tunnel. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. Maybe something was. My hands tightened on the wheel as the car hit a pothole, the jolt rattling my teeth. A sharp crack echoed through the night. Shit! I swore again, this time not a whisper, but loud. I paused. Now, as the sound of my car had stopped, I noticed just how quiet the forest was. I glanced in the rearview mirror again. For a moment I thought I saw movement, something pale darting between the trees. The knot in my stomach tightened at this. I shook my head. Keep it together, I muttered. You're just tired. From fear, my legs now were equivalent to lead. But then it happened again. This time, I was sure of it. A shape, pale and long-limbed, slipping through the trees just at the edge of the headlight's reach. The car suddenly felt like a fragile bubble, a thin shield against the encroaching darkness and the ever-approaching dread that was the forest. I pressed the accelerator harder, the engine growling as the car got out of the pothole and finally sped up. I prayed to God to save me. I wished all this would just end as quickly as possible. But no matter how fast I went, the thing in the woods kept pace. I could see it now, flickering in and out of view, darting between the trees with unnatural speed. My chest tightened as the road twisted and turned, the headlights sweeping across the wilderness. Every curve revealed more shadows, and every shadow felt alive. Even the branches appeared as if they were watching me. And then the engine sputtered. No, 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 I muttered, my voice trembling as I slammed the gas pedal. The car lurched forward before stalling completely. The headlights dimmed, and the silence returned, heavier than before. I fumbled with the key, twisting it in the ignition. The engine groaned but refused to start. And then I heard it. The clicking sound, that guttural sound that deer or whatever it was had made. It started faint, a rhythmic, bone-chilling noise that grew louder with every passing second. It was coming from the woods, circling the car, closing in. My breathing was shallow as I peered out the window, the darkness pressing against the glass. My breath had fogged the window. And then I saw it. The creature stepped into the beam of the dying headlights. My breathing became faster as it walked on its hind legs. Its body contorted and stretched, the thin fur barely clinging to its frame. The antlers jutted out at unnatural angles, and its eyes, those hollow, black pits, seemed to pierce through me. It opened its mouth, and the clicking sound turned into a low, guttural growl. My hands shook as I turned the key again, desperate. The engine roared to life, and I slammed the gas pedal. The car jolted forward, the tires spinning on loose gravel before catching traction. The creature lunged, its bony hands slapping against the rear window with a sickening thud. Oh my fucking God! I swore loudly, but did not stop. I lunged at the accelerator. I didn't look back. I couldn't. My only focus was the road ahead, the beam of the headlights cutting through the oppressive darkness. The clicking sound faded, but the feeling of being watched never left. I drove like a madman, my heart pounding, my hands slick with sweat. When I finally reached the edge of the forest, and the distant glow of my sister's house came into view, I almost cried with relief. I didn't tell my sister what had happened. I couldn't. How could I explain something even I didn't understand? But as I took the breast pump out of the trunk, I noticed something. A scratch, deep and jagged, running the length of the car's rear window. And in the dirt on the back windshield, scrawled with one bony finger, was a single word. Mine! Even now, weeks later, I can't shake the feeling that something followed me out of those woods. At night, I hear faint clicking sounds outside my window, and the shadows seem to move when I'm not looking. I made a mental vow to myself to never invite my sister over again. But sometimes, I dream of those hollow eyes staring at me from the darkness. And I know it's still out there. Waiting.
If you survived this episode, congratulations. Don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying tales. Hit that notification bell to stay up to date. Check out our community in the comments below. If you're feeling brave, share your own sleepless night stories with me on social media using #CynicsNightStories. Until next time, when the darkness closes in. Sleep tight, but don't say I didn't warn you.